So I don't know what happened to the first part of this video when I was recording, so I am re-recording the first part so I can give you guys in-depth information about what we're talking about, and then the second half I'm just gonna go right into the TikTok reactions. So basically Amazon is coming up blazing because, like I said yesterday, Saks Fifth Avenue filed for bankruptcy right after it acquired Neiman's Marcus. And what you guys didn't know was Amazon actually struck a deal with Saks Fifth before the bankruptcy, and it was within the time frame where Amazon actually put in money to help fund the Neiman Marcus buyout. Let's get into this because Amazon is not happy. Apparently, Amazon put in almost $500,000 into the Neiman Marcus deal with Saks. And right after that, Saks pulled the rug from up under Amazon and was like, yo, I know we made a deal, but we're going bankrupt. We don't have money for you. Let's get into this Business Insider article that gives a little bit more intel of what's going on. So the e-commerce giant invested $475 million of preferred equity in Saks Global, the owner of the department store Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman, in December of 2024. Now Amazon says its stake is presumptively worthless, and it has asked a federal judge to reject the retailer's bankruptcy financing plans, which it says it will further diminish its chances of recovery. Now listen, Amazon's attorney said that equity investment is now presumptively worthless after Saks continuously failed to meet its budgets, burned through hundreds of millions of dollars in less than a year, and ran up additional hundreds of millions of dollars in unpaid invoices owed to retail partners. Wow. Just hours after Saks Global filed for bankruptcy Chapter 11 with $1.75 billion financing package, Amazon was like, where's my money? Now, Amazon said in its motion filed in Texas federal bankruptcy court that it hopes Saks will resolve its concerns, but warned that it may be forced to seek more drastic remedies, including the appointment of an examiner or a trustee. Amazon is not playing, right? So let's see what exactly this deal entailed. Under the agreement, Saks agreed to pay Amazon a referral fee for Saks branded goods sold on the online platform and guaranteed at least $900 million in payments over 8 years to the mega corporation. So basically, Amazon put in $475 million into this Neiman Marcus buy, and Amazon was expecting to at least double its investment in 2 years. No, not 2 years, in 8 years. So Amazon's like, yo, you can't just come and file for bankruptcy. You owe us money. Like, there was a deal that is made. In 8 years, you're supposed to be giving me back my money and some. Amazon's attorney argued the bankruptcy plan would hurt the company and other creditors by loading Saks with additional debt. In other filings, Amazon said the filing would saddle Saks with billions of dollars of obligation for no material benefit and improperly use the value of Saks Global flagship entities to prop up other debtors at the expense of their creditors, including Amazon. And that's literally what a lot of these companies do. They use their legacy, they use their name to acquire debt and just spend. A lot of times we think a lot of these companies have good financial leadership or good financial literacy at the top, but even if they do have it, they know the bureaucracy of owning a business in the States. So they do just the bare minimum to get by with their vendors, the people who are actually keeping their lights on, and they pocket so much of the money. They take in as much as they can and just leave scraps for everybody else. And this is really hurtful to small companies because they are putting up front, like in the last video, all of this investment thinking they're going to get their money back, just like Amazon. Big companies get in these traps as well. So Amazon was like, no, we're not doing this. I mean, good for Amazon because they're trying to, of course, show that you cannot just get away with it. And if you make a deal with us, there are going to be some consequences if you don't go through the deal. But also keep in mind, a lot of these small brands that are expecting some kind of payout from Saks that are not going to be able to get anything back because they don't have those big lawyers backing them up, because it's going to be very tedious and expensive in order for them to get something back. So of course, a lot of them are going to just have to write it off. And like the short said, something that was supposed to be so joyful, such an achievement, is going to be their worst nightmare. So Amazon did not immediately respond to a request for comments by Business Insider. Oof, I am very curious to see how this play out. I really hope that all of this becomes public information and nothing is settled behind closed door, because a lot of these companies, they do all of this raw and then they decide to settle behind closed door. I really am very interested in seeing how business really operates. Is it just the little people that are getting stuck with these bad deal terms, or is it big companies as well? So let me know what you guys think about this. Now let's go into some reactions and the rest of the video.
The drama keeps coming. So basically, that Saks Global, which owns Saks, Bergdorf Goodman, and Neiman Marcus, applied for Chapter 11, which is to restructure the company while going through bankruptcy court. And they're running out of money, so they've applied to get $1.75 billion more in financing to help basically pay back the vendors. They're getting $400 million right now. But Amazon, who is a minority shareholder in Saks Global, they gave them $475 million in order to invest to buy Neiman Marcus. And in exchange for the money, Amazon's expectation that Saks would launch Saks Amazon on Amazon, and that they would get more into the luxury business, and that they would be able to basically double their investment in 8 years, and they'd make this great sales and get referral fees. Well, none of that came to pass. And now Amazon feels that their investment is worth zero. So they actually opposed the courts granting more money to Saks Global. So I guess Jeff Bezos won't be asking Richard Baker to go golfing with him anytime. It's no longer speculation. Saks Global has filed for Chapter 11 or bankruptcy to restructure the company. You can't make this stuff up. So Richard Baker has stepped down because they fired the old president of Saks Global. And so he was in search of a new person to take over the reins to take Saks Global out of bankruptcy, which is Saks, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman. Well, who did he find? Well, despite the fact they are cash poor and they haven't paid their vendors like Christian Louboutin that they owe $21.6 million or Jimmy Choo $33 million, they somehow managed to scratch $10 million to basically pay a signing bonus to hire or rehire the old president of Neiman Marcus. So Jeffrey Van Rensburg, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, was the old CEO of Neiman Marcus prior to the acquisition by Saks. Neiman Marcus was close to bankruptcy and was failing, and that's what allowed Saks to buy them. So he left the company. Now they're rehiring him, not just to run Neiman, but to run Saks and Bergdorf Goodman, and now take all three companies out of bankruptcy protection. He's got a tough job. So, and you know what? When you go bankrupt, you don't have to pay your bills while you're trying to restructure. So why not go and get another $1.25 billion so that you can actually pay your bills? That's a smart idea. So remember, they paid 2.7 billion for Neiman Marcus. They had an interest payment owing of $100 million, which they weren't able to make. Now they borrowed another $1.75 billion. So let's say their next interest payment is going to be $150 million, and the shelves are bare because a lot of the vendors are suing Saks for payment. Now, I am sure the 1.75 is to actually pay some vendors off so that they will get new merchandise, because they ain't going to make the sales if they have no merchandise on the shelves. And the other thing is, a lot of vendors have lost confidence with them. So it's going to be interesting. They will probably close some doors in order to raise some more cash. They might even sell off certain things like Bergdorf Goodman in order to generate cash. But I'm not holding out hope. What do you guys think?
This is what I'm talking about. How in the world you're going into bankruptcy, you're not paying your vendors, but yet is able to scrape $10 million to pay your CEO, which is probably going to run the company back into bankruptcy, because a lot of the times these big brands, it's about, how you call it, what's called nepotism, right? Well, nepotism, I think, is only for the children of, it's like a club, right? Where if you're already in the club, they just circulate you over and over and over. The money is being passed by the same hands. It's a game, right? Because they do the same thing when it comes to designers for the luxury brands. You know, Balenciaga designer goes to Gucci, Gucci designer goes to Tom Ford, Tom Ford designer go back to Balenciaga, goes back to Jimmy Choo, goes back to Louis Vuitton, goes back to, and it's just the same people being recycled over and over and over again. And I seen a video recently on why rappers date the same girls, and it makes so much sense to the elite group, right? And I think it's just a human thing. It's like, if you know how the program is ran, people just go ahead and trust you because you already know you know the secrets, you know the deals, you know how this thing works. So they just going to keep you circulated in the same group. That's how all of these industries are, from entertainment to fashion brands to big box stores, all of them. They are recycling the same people because for some reason, these people know the secret to do whatever they do. On the outside, the brand probably suffering, but on the inside, everybody is eating. I feel like that's the case when it comes to this situation, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other situations, but she just pointed out some things that makes me wonder, that had my mind thinking, be like, oh, okay, well, if the CEO was coming from Neiman Marcus and y'all bought Neiman Marcus because Neiman Marcus was current like going under, y'all bring them to Saks, and all of a sudden Saks is going under. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's all a game. They know what they're doing. It's just politics, I guess. It's just business bureaucracy, business politics. That's all I could really say about this. But apparently Amazon was not in the know of this. So Amazon is like, we ain't doing this. At least you could have told me this ahead of time and we could have worked something out. But they didn't let Amazon know at all. And Amazon and other brands are starting to sue because they're not happy. Trying to run off with their money. I'm telling you, it's something about those CEO packages that makes me look at brands sideways.
Here's a news story that might sound technical, but it actually tells you a lot about how wholesale in luxury and fashion really works. Chanel, Kering, and Kering, by the way, is the group behind Gucci, and several other luxury houses are now listed as unsecured creditors in the whole Saks Global bankruptcy. So let's just slow that down for a second. What does unsecured creditor actually mean? Well, it means that these brands supplied products to Saks, stuff like clothing and handbags, accessories, you get the idea, without collateral protecting them. So no assets, no guarantees, just trust. Very old school in a way. And if Saks can't pay what it owes, unsecured creditors sit behind banks, behind landlords, and secured lenders in the queue. So in plain English, they're the last in the line. They may not even get paid in full ever. And that's a really important point because luxury brands like to talk about independence, direct to consumer and control. But this shows you how financially exposed they still are to department store partners in 2026. So for decades, wholesale relationships were seen as low risk distribution. But when a retailer collapses, suddenly a sales channel turns into a balance sheet problem. And this moment is a reminder that even the strongest luxury houses are still carrying wholesale credit risk, especially in the US market. So as always, for upcoming creatives, new designers and nascent brands, this is a massive lesson. Please remember that selling more doors doesn't always mean less risk. Cash flow will always matter more than exposure. And who owes you money is just as important as how much they owe you. Luxury is about product as much as it is about financial structure. And unsecured credit is one of the loudest risks in the industry for companies big and small. So please learn from this. I'm Jalil, and this is how fashion really works.
Yes, he did a good job. For sure. Cash flow is way more important than exposure, and that's what a lot of these big box brands, they have a chokehold on little upcoming companies, and they have a chokehold on big companies as well. But it's just the fact like, oh, you're gonna get exposure, oh, you're gonna get exposure. It's like, yeah, you could have so much exposure, but absolutely no cash coming in. It depends on what you're selling, how it's marketed, and everything. Or you can have a little bit of exposure, but you are very targeted and you're doing the right things in marketing to where the cash flow is coming in and it makes sense. Exposure does not always mean you're going to make money from it. And like I said in the last video, we glamorize or we boast up being in partnerships with certain brands and being in certain stores, and oh, I could walk in and see my brand on the shelves and stuff like that. But yet at the back end, on the back end, you're struggling financially because the brands take a huge percentage from your profit, and it's crippling you. And when it comes to a point where you are not being paid like this, you really are out of luck. A lot of brands are behind on loans and bank credit cards and debt, is crippling them. And besides exposure, the number one thing that will have a brand to their knees is not being able to pay the employees, the rents, production costs. So this is definitely something to learn from and to be aware of, and just to keep in mind if you are owning a business or if you're trying to start a business, that just because you're in a store, just because you're back behind big name brands, that doesn't mean you're actually making profits, which is always the key to business, right? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here. Thank you guys for watching part 1 and part 2 of this video. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next.